start recording as well. Okay, so we're gonna DCT and collecting duct. Dear Lord, that's reproduction, girl. Not reproduction. No, that's not reproduction. What am I saying? It's the nephron thing, no? Homeostasis, yeah. Osmoregulation. Nephrons and that. Is it nephrons? Nephrons. Yeah. Yeah. It is. Oh my god, I've completely forgotten this part. Dear Lord. T will probably help you. I don't remember in my head, girl. Every time I do a session, I had to like relearn it. Not relearn, but like I had to like make sure that I know what I'm talking about before I start talking about it. Yes, I will talk about Mendelian ratio and stuff as well. Okay, yeah, so a few things. Rage, go to your physics session. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? Go to your physics session. The fuck are you here? Yeah, anyway, sorry. Oh, real, yeah. Immunity is like insane. Go to your physics session. You're here for nothing. You don't even do bio. Girl. Anyway, okay. What were we talking about? Yeah, so the way I'm going to do this is we're going to talk about Punnett squares, and then we're going to talk about pedigree problems. And if you guys have questions that you're stuck on, if you guys have general questions, if there's things you don't understand, I'm just going to deal with those. I'm not going to teach you all of inheritance because inheritance is so long. I don't think, like, you know, is Punnett square in D2, whatever. We're dealing with all genetic related problems, whether that be inheritance specific or not. Sorry, I just went through, because again, with the old syllabus and the new syllabus, they've scattered a lot of things in the new syllabus that they shouldn't have, in my opinion. But again, you know, the IB is just whatever. Anyway, yeah, so okay, you're probably, Punnett squares is not under this, I think someone said, but whatever, do the question anyway. It's very simple. This is the simplest Punnett square question you can get ever. Literally, I'm side-eyeing the IB right now. So hard. Because what do you mean it's so scattered, bro? Gene expression is like some other unit, and this is another unit, and like, what do you mean? Like, what do they mean? Literally, like, who thought dividing all of this would have been good? Anyway, yeah, answer the question, guys. Draw a Punnett square. I want everyone to draw a Punnett square. Is everyone doing the question? I hope. I want to see pictures of everyone's Punnett squares. Yeah, because they've done this thing where mutation and gene editing is a different chapter. Cell and nuclear division is a different chapter. Inheritance is a different chapter. Natural selection is a different chapter. And gene expression is a whole different chapter. These 5 different chapters are like 5 different things. Like how that's supposed to be in the same chapter. I can't that. Anyway, yeah, so for people who just joined, we're doing a like, do you have problems type questions. So we're going to do Punnett squares, and we're doing pedigree charts, and also we'll do the Mendelian ratio, but it's more just if you have questions, ask me questions. And we're doing the problems, like questions they can give us in exams type thing, rather than I'm not teaching you all the theory of like everything. No, so heterozygous is when it's that's not heterozygous and homozygous. Heterozygous and homozygous. Hold on, I had a slide on it, but I deleted it. Let me. Hold on. Heterozygous and homozygous has to deal with dominant and recessive alleles, not with two completely different alleles together. So a heterozygous is this, where it has one dominant and one recessive, and homozygous is whether it's both recessive or both dominant, although this doesn't have both dominant. Phenotype is dominant. Yes. Phenotype is basically what will be shown in person. It's on the slide, T. Read the slide, girl. It would always be capital first and small after. It's always capital first and small after. It's the same allele, like it's the same combination. You missed nothing. Okay, everyone who's here now and wasn't here before, it's basically a problem type session. I'm not going to teach you all of inheritance right now. We're just talking about Punnett squares, pedigree charts, etc., etc. If you have questions from past papers that you've done or from other like mocks that you've done that you want to send over, and we can talk about how to tackle them, or we're just going to go through these things. If you have problems, you can do that. Yeah, things like that. I will type this out and I will put it in the bio chat also. Give me a second. Where is bio? Okay, there we go. Missing them for like the 4th time today. Anyway. Yes, so a lot of people have answered the questions already, but basically, like we know, if they're crossing two plants that are heterozygous, it will be capital K, small k. And if the dominant allele is smooth kernels, we're gonna have one homozygous dominant smooth kernel, two heterozygous smooth kernels, and one homozygous wrinkled kernel. Therefore, it will be 75% or 3 out of 4. If you want me to draw it out, I can do that as well. Hold on, let me do that, actually. That might be easier. Let's see. If I do, not that. Where is the drawing thing? Because I swear you can do drawings, can't you? Can I? No. I can't do that anymore. Really? That's so rude. Why would you do that to me? No. Can't do that. I don't care about that. No. Did I have an annotator on here? I don't have an annotator on here, do I? Never mind. Is it Google Draw? I don't see it though. Am I blind? Diagram. Sure. No, because it's gonna make me do like a specific diagram. No, it used to be called just draw, but it's not there anyway. Fine. Whatever. It can, yeah. Whatever. Can I? No, because, yeah, that's not helpful. Damn it. Whatever. It's fine. Oh, I can just make a table. You're so smart. I'm so dumb. Okay, give me a second. Let me just do that real quick. Insert a table, which is gonna be, yeah, that many. We're gonna just do that. Bring it down. Bring this up. You know what? Delete. Move this here. No, you're being annoying. No. Oh my lord. Okay, there we go. Okay. Hit this down. Okay, and then this is gonna be K, and that's gonna be small k, and that's gonna be big K, and that's gonna be small k. And that's going to be capital, that's going to be capital and small, and that's going to be capital and small, and that's going to be small and small. There we go. Lovely. That only took me less time than it. Okay. Yeah, whatever. That works. Okay. There we go. Does that kind of help-ish? I hate this font. I hate this font. Why are you like this? Why are you doing this to me? Where? Anyway, there we go. Yes, what Jess did. Jess did it so prettily. Sorry, I'm skill issuing a little bit. Just, yeah. There we go. Okay. Someone asked a question. I should answer. Okay. If the question tells me to make an example using a disease that is autosomal recessive, can I say albinism? Technically, yes. But I think they expect you to say either... in the thing, autosomal linked diseases was... There is Huntington's disease and there is... cystic fibrosis, yes. Those are the two examples that are... Wait, is Huntington's autosomal dominant? Shit. Fuck. Sorry. Ignore me. Oops. Yeah, wait, I had a slide on it. Let me just recover all my slides that I just deleted. Give me a second. I deleted so many slides because I was like, I don't want to go through all of this, but anyway, there we go. So cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive disease, and Huntington's is an autosomal dominant disease. And that's basically the overview of it, where a carrier will have the recessive disease and the normal allele is dominant and the cystic fibrosis allele is recessive. And in Huntington's, the Huntington's disease allele is dominant and the Huntington's disease, like the normal, is recessive. Genotype is not visible and phenotype is visible. Yes. Dominant diseases are usually removed from the gene pool. Yes, also true. Okay, so cystic fibrosis is a autosomal recessive disease and Huntington's is a autosomal dominant disease. Cystic fibrosis has the can have carriers. Huntington's disease will not have carriers. If they have it, they are affected by it. If they don't have it, they don't have it, because it's a dominant disease. Autosomal means that it's not sex linked. So there's something called sex linked. Where is it? Somewhere. There we go. Sex linkage. So sex linkage basically means that a characteristic is linked to the sex chromosome of the individual. So where it's almost always due to genes on the X chromosome, and the occurrence of sex-linked diseases is more frequent in males. Y-linked diseases. Do you have Y-linked diseases in your syllabus at all? Do you talk about Y-linked diseases in your... I don't know if you do. Y-linked diseases don't show up for pedigrees either. It's always... all of the examples that you have is all X-linked diseases, as far as I know. I could be wrong. Okay, so the next thing I was gonna talk about is pedigree anyway. So pedigree charts are essentially these things, where it's basically kind of a family tree essentially, but for diseases, where like you're going through generations of family and seeing whether diseases have been seen. So for example here, that's the first generation, and then they had 2 kids, 1 girl, 1 boy, and then they got married and had kids of their own. And basically this chart will show that this guy and this guy were both affected, which means that this mom was probably a carrier, which made this girl a carrier and him affected. And although he was affected, so then she's probably a carrier. He's unaffected because he gets his X gene from... No, wait, this is not... No, I forgot. This is not sex linked. Sorry, ignore me. Ignore what I said. But even generally speaking, they were both probably carriers, resulting in one affected child and one non-affected child. However, the non-affected child is probably also a carrier, which results in one of the affected childs, and which means that he's probably also a carrier. And she's probably not a carrier, considering he was affected and none of the kids are affected. There we go. That makes more sense. Sorry, my brain was operating in the sex-linked territory, not in the autosomal territory. I apologize for that. Okay, so we'll do a sample question. Hold on. Let me just remove my answers this is literally, this is from last year. Anyway, let's see. This is a question. Let's do it, guys. Let's try answering this question. Yes, it is being recorded. Even though it's a mess of a session, it is being recorded. Hello? I said do the question, guys. Can you not hear me? Are we good? No? Hello? Hello, 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 hello. Hello? Okay, so you can hear me. I don't know, I'm very confused. Okay. I'm trying to be a vocalist, guys. Hello? Anyway. Sing for you. No. We're answering this question, guys. We're answering the question. Come on. Yeah, I would usually say spoil your answers, but people have already answered, so I'm just gonna let you do that, I guess. Does anyone have an answer other than C? E, that's not an option. H, lovely, great, amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna put my answers back. Anyway, basically, you have to kind of reverse engineer this, right? So if this is a family affected by cystic fibrosis, if this kid has sorry, actually I'm gonna reverse engineer this. Okay, affected boy, right? So you're only looking at him and we're not looking at the actually why is this here? This is wrong. Ignore. Anyway. So affected boy, guys. Affected boy. These are males. Anyone else who's affected is a female. So the only affected boy is this kid on the 4th generation. Gender is a social construct. That doesn't matter. Anyway. Yeah, so in order for someone to be affected, they have to have, since cystic fibrosis is a autosomal recessive disorder, the kid has to have both recessive alleles in order to be presenting as a affected, in order to be affected by the disease, right? So to reverse engineer it, he has to have both small a's, right? Now, neither the mother or the father are affected, therefore they both have to be carriers in order for this kid to be affected. Therefore, the answer would be C. So, yes, you were right. But, yeah. So the parents both need to be carriers in order for the kid to be affected directly. So, yes. So, yes, it still worked for you in this situation, but please, please, please keep in mind what the question is asking you. Because if it's asking you about the affected boy, it's asking you that for a reason. It doesn't matter in this context, but if it was, for example, a sex-linked disease, you need to know which kid you're talking about. You can't talk about the wrong person. In this case, it works, but in other questions, it will not work. So please, please, please pay attention to where you are, what the question is asking you. The answer here is C because it's asking you the genotype of the father, not of the child. The genotype of the child is both small a's because he's sick. The mother or the father are not affected. So they are both carriers of the cystic fibrosis gene, the allele, but not affected by it, which means that they have one dominant normal allele. Or unaffected allele, sorry. I shouldn't say normal, but you know what I mean. Yes, we're doing a sex link one right after this. I'm just trying to explain how this one works first. But yeah, please, 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 I'm going to say this again. I said it literally just now, but I'm saying it again. Read the question. Read what it's asking you. Read what it says. Because if you don't read the question, if you answer it wrong, like if you answer it thinking that you're answering it for someone else, please, please, please answer it in terms of what the question is asking you and not about other people. Sakura is just what I'm repeating right now. Make sure that you read the question and you answer based on what the question is like. Answer what the question's asking you. Don't answer something else, is what I'm saying. Okay. This is the next question. There is 3 parts to this question. I made this one myself. I don't even remember the answers to this. I made this one so long ago that I don't remember the answers to this. Anyway, how else do you answer if it's not based? No, so, okay, let me go back for quickly. What I mean is, the question here was asking genotype of the affected boy's father. Sometimes people might read it as genotype of the affected boy and give AA as the answer. Sometimes people will read it as, like, not realize that it's affected boy's father and do it for either for the mother or someone else who's affected's parents. You need to look at the person that the question is asking you to look at. Because people in the chat were saying, oh, I looked at the girl at the top. Don't do that. Yes, this is autosomal recessive. Okay, now we're going to talk about sex linkage. Yeah, do this question. Spoiler your answers, please. To spoiler your answer, it's double bars on either side of text, which what I've just sent. Just remove text and add your thing to it. No, double bars on either side. So you have to do both, not that. Double on either side. Not just one on either side. Yeah, there you go. And then, yeah, so everyone answer the question. You can use any letters you want, really, but it's hemophilia, so you should, it's sex-linked, guys. It's hemophilia and it's sex-linked. As long as you explain which one is what, then you can do it normally. Okay, so for sex linkage, you use, if it's a woman, you use XX. If it's a man, you use XY. And to indicate the hemophiliac gene, you'll use H. If you can't hear anything, I would recommend rejoining. I realize I'm talking to someone who can't hear anything. Try to rejoin. Okay, and then after this question, if there are any other questions from you guys, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll go into experiments. And yeah, and then that'll be all from us today. It's been a long day. And I have to do poker night after this. I'm gonna cry. Huntington is not sex-linked. There's sex-linked diseases and there's autosomal diseases. Cystic fibrosis and Huntington's are both examples of autosomal diseases, which means that they're undetermined by sex. There are diseases such as hemophilia, which are sex-linked diseases, which means that the genes for the disease are linked to the sex chromosome, are present in the sex chromosome. That's the difference. So whether or not you are a carrier / affected is determined somewhat by your sex. That's what sex linkage means. Yes, you should know hemophilia. That's an example given in your textbook. You should know hemophilia. You should know For autosomal, you should know Huntington's and cystic fibrosis, I believe. We can honestly just we're doing this the question that's on the slide. Anyway, what else? Yeah, color blindness is one of them. How do you know the mother of person 2? It's not given in the pedigree chart. You just have to imagine a mother. And regarding experiments, T, if you don't mind, then we can just do it today. Because the way we're going to do it anyway is question and answer. So we can just keep doing it. And then, yeah. Just because I don't think I can be bothered to wait until next week. Okay. That's fine. It's fine. I delayed poker by half an hour. We're good. Okay, so we can do a session next week on that, Wolfgang. We can do a session on that next week. Next weekend, I mean, not next week. Sometime in this week or in the weekend. If the male is normal, doesn't mean that the father is normal, but the mother is a character. Okay, so I'll explain that in a second. I'm going to go through how to do the question anyway. I just want you guys to do it so you know what you're doing, and then when I explain it, you can see whether or not you're doing it correctly or doing it wrong. Safa, you might want to just rejoin, because if you... Yes, please do answer the question. Here. For people who, for some reason, can't see the slides, we're doing this question. Yeah. So, depends on your notation, but you would say X, and then because it's sex-linked, so, for example, it'll be something like this, even though this is not sex-linked, but you know what I mean when I say, like, it'll be X, superscript, whatever the hemophiliac gene is, and then Y, or X, whatever the hemophiliac gene is, X, whatever the non-hemophiliac gene is, something like that. Okay, do spoiler your answers when you do it, but it's fine. Okay. Are most people done? Should I start going through how it works? Are people still answering? There are people still answering. Okay, I'll wait for a couple minutes. Hemophilia is a recessive disease, but you should know that. I'm technically not supposed to answer that, because if this was a question in an exam, they're not going to tell you that it's recessive or dominant, but it is recessive. Yeah, in general, if there is a carrier, it has to be recessive. Yes. Okay. If it were dominant and one parent has it, then basically every child would be affected. Yes. Actually, not necessarily, but likely. Not every child, but likely. I'm waiting for people to answer. I think there were still a couple of people answering, and then I will explain it. If there's no one still answering, then I will explain it. I'm just waiting for a couple minutes to make sure that people are done. No, we've been doing bio for 3 hours, actually. Nearly 4 hours now. Okay, so are people still typing? There are people still typing. Okay, I'm gonna wait. Yes, it'll be 4 hours in 12 minutes. Or so, I mean, more or less. But we took lots of breaks, so it's not really 4 hours, really. Okay, so the way you would go about this question is, for starters, you have to determine the genotype of person 1. So person 1 is this person, right? Now, we know that the mother is a carrier, and we know that one of their kids is hemophiliac and the other kid is normal, right? Now, in order for this kid to be normal, that means that she got the normal gene from the mother and another normal gene from the father. For her to receive a normal gene for the father means that he has the genotype of X, capital H, Y. I'm using capital H as a sign of not hemophiliac and a small h as a sign of a hemophiliac. Okay? So in that case, the genotype of person 1 would be X, capital H, Y. Not X, small h, Y. Because it is okay, the reason it's on the X and not on the Y is because it's an X-linked disease. The Y, in order for a mother to be a carrier, it has to be a X-linked, not a male-linked disease, an X-linked disease. The X-linked disease means that it's linked to the X. That's what I'm explaining right now. Listen. For a mom to be a carrier, it has to be an X-linked disease, because a mom has only 2 X chromosomes, not an X and Y. So for her to be a carrier, she has to have one X that has the recessive disease and one that doesn't, for her to be a carrier, which means that it's an X-linked disease. And also, in general, hemophilia is an X-linked disease. I would say you use the normal capital H. The father is a normal male, yes. Okay, now, for determining the genotype of the mother of person 2. Now, from person 2, we know that their sister is a carrier and their brother is affected, which means that if the sister is a carrier, she had to have received one normal X gene and one affected X gene. For the brother to be affected, he has to have just one affected X gene. So we know that there's one affected X gene, whether that be with the mother or we know that the mother has to have an affected X gene because the son will get the normal Y gene from the parent, right? So that means the mom does have a affected, a hemophiliac X gene, which means that the mom was also a carrier. So the mom would have the genotype of X, capital H, X, small h, essentially, or whatever notation you're using for that. Does that make sense? You don't need to know the dad. The question just asks, determine the genotype of the mother. You don't have to do more than you're asked for it. Could the mom be a hemophiliac? I think in general, women hemophiliacs are not really, because if you have both recessive hemophiliac genes, I think because it's a sex-linked disease, I believe you don't get to, like, you don't live. Unless I'm... It's very uncommon. It's very uncommon. I mean, like, female hemophiliacs are very, very uncommon in that sense. If your father has hemophilia and a mother is a carrier, then the daughter can have hemophilia. Yeah, they can, but it's uncommon because most people will know that they have hemophilia and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. With a diagram or visual representation. I can do it with, like, I need to find a piece of paper and a pen, but I can do it in a second. Give me a second. Okay, we're going to talk about 3 really quickly before I answer stuff with before I answer answer questions that you guys have. So if person 3 has a son and the father is a hemophiliac male, predict the son's phenotype. That's the question. Explain what part again for B? So the female hemophiliacs are really, really okay, I'm gonna wait. Fauna's answer is there. Hemophilia in females is usually fatal in utero. It's very uncommon for them to actually live. They can, but it's uncommon. The female having the disease is uncommon in general. She can, but it's uncommon in general. Also, you have to consider the fact that the number 2 kid is normal, like a normal male. If the mother had hemophilia and then all the kids would have hemophilia. Like, literally every kid would have hemophilia. Every male kid, would have hemophilia. Anyway, okay, yeah. So we were doing question 3. If person 3 has a son and the father is a hemophiliac male, predict the son's phenotype. So the son, sorry, the person we're talking about is number 3, who is a female. She's a normal female. The question asks if person 3 has a son with someone who is a hemophiliac male. So in order to be a hemophiliac male, he has to have the X, the X gene with hemophilia. So it would be X small h y, and the mother, since she's normal, would have X capital H X capital H. For a son, the father would supply the Y allele and the mother would supply one of the X alleles. Both of her X alleles are normal, so the kid would have XH normal, X capital H and Y, and therefore would be unaffected. There we go. That's basically it. Does that make sense? So the answer for 3 is the son would not have hemophilia. That's basically. Yeah. So that's basically okay. So if people have questions, I will answer them. But otherwise, we're basically done with, I mean, not done with inheritance, but like that's all I'm going to discuss with inheritance today. Now we're going to really quickly, I'm going to call T up and then we're going to talk about, I mean, if you guys have questions regarding experiments, then we're going to do that. But otherwise we're done. Generally speaking, let me stop recording really quickly and then